Alright, so Panic Monster and I have come to an agreement that if I make this video about procrastination and how to beat it using his special technique, well, he'll let me live. And I, wanting to live, now present to you this video. So you're just gonna stay here or... Okay. Where are my manners? Let me introduce you first. Well, I'm Arvind. And this is a Panic Monster. If you're a procrastinator and you've watched a lot of videos on YouTube about being a procrastinator, you've probably watched a TED Talk by Tim Urban where he presents this concept of the Panic Monster and talks about how it plays a role in the mind of someone who procrastinates. Just kind of a quick overview, right? So your brain is typically in control, but when you're doing stuff, sometimes the instant gratification monkey comes out and takes the wheel and does everything that is quickly enjoyable and fun to you in the moment while ignoring the thing that kind of gives you long-term happiness or success. Once that deadline is coming close to that thing that gives you success in the future, that's when Panic Monster shows up. Panic Monster shows up, scares the monkey away, and enables you to take control back over your life and do the task that you need to do before whatever the deadline is. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how I've been able to use Mr. Panic Monster over here to kind of kick in a sense of urgency before a deadline, and hopefully beat procrastination and do all the things that I dream to do. And maybe that's something you're trying to do with your life too. How was that? Thanks. So in his TED Talk, Tim Urban talks about two major types of procrastination. So the first one is deadline-based procrastination. The second one is non-deadline-based procrastination. So first with deadline-based procrastination, that's when, say you have a homework assignment, say you have a paper due, there's a set deadline where you have to submit that, and if you don't, well, you face consequences. You don't get the grade. If it's work for a job, you risk your job. There's a lot of consequences that come immediately if you don't meet those deadlines. So that one's kind of manageable, right? Like we know exactly when we need to finish something, and most of the time, procrastinators find a way to get it done by the deadline and have decent results. Now with non-deadline based procrastination, this one is dangerous. So as an example, this would be something like getting into a workout routine, starting a YouTube channel, starting some other creative endeavor, like playing an instrument, right? There's no set deadline of someone, you have to get it done by now, or your job's at risk, or your career is at risk, or your grades are at risk. There's nothing like that. And so the thing with these is that they can just infinitely be procrastinated way into the future. Like for example, like everyone I know is like, you know what? I should start a podcast. And I swear the same people have been telling me that for like months. And that's just how non-deadline based procrastination works, because there's no set deadline. You just feel like you can do it whenever, and that just makes it never end up happening. In terms of causes of procrastination, right? Like I think personally I've identified like three main reasons I procrastinate, or three main causes. I think the first one, to be honest, is because you can get away with it, right? Like a lot of the times when we procrastinate and finish an assignment like, the day of a deadline or something, we're able to get it done, get a decent score that we're happy with, and move on with our life. Because, we have success in that over multiple periods of time, and in the moment we might be a little bit stressed out, but some of us kind of get a kick out of it, right? Like while we're stressed in the moment, like we kind of work off of that stress and just are way more productive during it. When the next deadline comes, we just do the same thing, and even though we get close to the deadline, we finish the task. And so it works, so why not do it again? The second reason I think I procrastinate is when something just seems really hard, right? Like there could be a task or some kind of paper that I need to write, and it just seems really hard, and I just don't want to start because of the seeming difficulty of it. Now the third one, this is one that really hurts, because of the importance of it. And that is procrastinating on something that is important. Sometimes we procrastinate on things that we know are very critical in our life because we're scared of making them not the way they're supposed to be. You'll put something back because you're like, oh, it's not the right time to work on this. I need to come back when I'm in my full focus and when I'm perfect and it's the right time. I mean, spoiler alert, but there is no right time. I mean, the good news is though, the Panic Monster over here can help you with all of these problems. What was that? Oh, he said that only if you subscribe and like this video, the technique's gonna work. So, I mean, I didn't say it, but if the Panic Monster says it, well, now that you've subscribed, we can continue with the video. So as a lifelong procrastinator myself, I feel like procrastination helps me in a lot of situations. There's the rule of the Parkinson's law that work expands to fill the time you give it, and when we procrastinate and keep things to the last minute, the amount of time you spend on it is a lot less. I mean, here's a serious problem though. If you have like a big project or like a big paper or something, you know, you can't wait till the deadline to complete big assignments like this. Or if you're working on a YouTube channel or you're working on some kind of creative endeavor, this doesn't work because there is no deadline there. Now you might be like, hold up, Arvind, what if I just set my own fake deadline? Internal deadline, say I have a paper due in a month, I'm gonna knock out the intro this week. And I say, great, if you can do that, good for you. If this was something happening in my life and I had set a deadline for that week, this is what would happen. Oh shoot, wasn't I supposed to finish my intro today? I'll just do it tomorrow. And therein lies the problem of real deadlines versus fake deadlines. With real deadlines, you understand the consequences of not meeting that deadline immediately. When you set a false deadline, a lot of times you just set it. If you don't meet it, what's gonna happen? No one's gonna come in and chase you around most of the time. But yeah, that's the difference. There's no consequences felt immediately. I mean, say you miss an actual deadline, whether it be for school, work, or anything. Your heart rate's probably super high. You're probably freaking out and scared of the consequences. You're probably thinking, oh my God, what is my teacher? What is my professor? What is my boss? What is my supervisor gonna think of me now? What's gonna happen to your career? What's gonna happen to your future success? I mean, the gravity of the situation is just way different. Let me tell you the story of how I came across the panic monster technique. So when I was trying to write my personal statement for medical school, I spent months not writing anything. And I finally was able to get something down on paper, again, after months. And so I met with my mentor, one of my favorite mentors who I really look up to, and is actually writing me a letter of recommendation. I asked her like, hey, could you look at my personal statement and give me some advice? And she said, sure. And so I meet with her. She gives me a bunch of really good suggestions. And she says, you know, I can review this again. When do you want to meet again to review it? And I kind of just blurt out, you know, I'll have it done in 2 days. And she's like, okay, we can meet again in 2 days. We end the call and I'm like, what did I just do? I told her that we're gonna meet again in 2 days after going over and fixing the work that I spent a couple of months on. I didn't know how I was gonna do it, but what I did know was that I had to do it because the last thing I wanted was to pull up to that meeting 2 days later with nothing to show her or just excuses. You know, that would be a waste of not only my time, but a waste of her time that she had so kindly given to me. I'd be putting a really important relationship on the line and I just couldn't let her down. Seeing all these factors, the panic monster activated. My personal statement technically wasn't due again for another 2 months, but I was able to activate the panic monster because I was able to set a false deadline that also had consequences if I didn't meet it. That's the essentials of the panic monster technique. It's to create your own deadlines, but make sure that these deadlines also have consequences if you don't meet them. I mean, it's the same reason, like if you work on a group project, we don't tend to put off work to the last minute because we don't want to let the rest of the team down. When other people are involved, we just have a bigger sense of responsibility for whatever we're doing and want to contribute what we can to the group. I mean, I'm still using this approach. I'm working on a professional paper for my master's program and it's a 1-year course and I'm only gonna start writing it next semester, but there are so many things I need to get ready this semester in order to be ready by that point. And so I'm setting kind of weekly meetings with my mentors that I really look up to. And so each meeting, you know, I don't want to let them down. I want to show them real progress and show them I've been putting the work in consistently. So yeah, involving anyone that you find very important to you or like in a mentorship position to you can really help you get your work done. This also works on independent projects too, like a YouTube channel or a podcast or anything like that. For example, last week I made a video called I'm Back on a Thursday, and in that video I said that I was gonna put out another video the next day and then put out another video the following Friday and every Friday after. Right after I posted that, I had a bunch of people commenting under that, and that kind of made me feel like, oh my gosh, I have to do this. And so the next day, I remember editing took a lot longer than I did, but I knew I needed to finish it that day and I put it out that day. And this video also will go out the next Friday because I feel it's responsibility. And you can also do this by having friends that are doing the same thing. A lot of YouTubers that are making similar types of videos, and collaborating with them and talking with them motivates you to put in the work and do the things that you need to do as well. When I record episodes for my podcast, I tell the guest when I'm putting it up, and telling them when I'm putting it up makes me edit it by that date and have it out because I don't want to let that person down who had so graciously given me their time. I mean, this even works for habits, right? Like if you're trying to build a habit to go to the gym, find a friend or someone that's also trying to do the same thing and is also committed to it. If they're at the gym, you'll feel like, oh my God, I can't let them down. So you'll go too, even if you don't feel like it. And at the end of the day, you're gonna be so glad you did. But here's a counter argument. You might be like, Arvind, the problem is though, that this approach puts my productivity in the hands of other people instead of instilling within me discipline and work ethic to do it myself. And yeah, I get that. But to be honest, I'm sick of watching videos about procrastination and people just talking about making these kind of dramatic mind shift changes that are not realistic for a lot of us. I remember when I was procrastinating a lot, I'd watch those videos and I'd be like, that's cool, and not do the thing I needed to do because it just felt like it was such a big step from where I already was. And so this approach, while it isn't the ultimate solution, it's like a gateway to changing your life as a chronic procrastinator. Dang, that was good. As you do this more and as a result do more work before the deadline, you'll realize how much more you're capable of if procrastination wasn't holding you back. And the reality is, the panic monster isn't here to scare you. He's here to scare away the bad habits that are keeping you from being the best version of you that there can be. He's here to help you realize your potential. So be his friend and don't let him down. So we're friends now, right? I'll take that as a yes.